going on? Welcome back to another episode of Life of a Sim Racer. My name is Brandon. I'm going to be your host for tonight, along with my two colleagues, driver of the number 66 Life of a Sim Racer Chevrolet, Mr. Brandon Six, and driver of the number Ford Mustang Race Lab, Mr. Nick Silver. How you guys doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Doing well.
Alright. So you guys can see in the background, we had another race. We raced at the new track that the Cup Cars race at, Nashville Super Speedway. And for the most part, the race was pretty good. The team did good, and let me clarify. The team did. Yeah, I guess you could say the team did good. We could have all done better, but overall the team did good. Lots of green flag laps. We only had one caution, so we won't have any clips for today. We can kind of talk about the incident, but I mean, it wasn't really a big incident. Minor. Somebody trying to pit, and somebody kind of got into the back of them, spun them, but nothing really too big. So, like I said, in the background, you'll see the race and watch as it goes along. But for the most part, it's going to be a lot of green flag runs, a lot of passes. So we'll get right into it. So we are going to start with the highest finisher. Mr. Nick Silver finished 5th, which is a great run for you. Your second top 5 of the year, I believe. So take us through it. Start with your practice, testing, and what else you did to get your top 5.
Well, as far as testing goes, they just really did the one night of testing with you guys. We're a week ahead in the series, so we didn't have any fixed races or NIS races to take part into practice. Felt all right as far as speed, but my tires were dropping off in testing, and then as far as practice for the race, same thing. I couldn't really figure out what brake combination I wanted to go with, what steering ratio I wanted to go with, till really even after qualifying. But race went pretty well. Lost a few spots early. I knew saving tires was going to be key, so I just kind of backed it off at the beginning, was kind of riding. Holding up a large pack of cars there at the beginning, as I was told by you guys. But I knew that's what I was going to have to do if I wanted to be around at the end of the run. Started to gain some spots near the end of the green flag run, and then of course caution comes out during green flag pit stops. I think by that point I was barely inside the top 10, and then went green to the end from there, and I just set it up how I did the first run, saved tires at the beginning, and ended up starting to pick them off one by one. Got up to 5th place behind Andrew, and I was hounding Andrew for like the last 10 laps, I think it was, and for a second there I thought I might be able to get next to him and get him, but he saved a little bit and just had a little bit more tires, I think, than I did right there at the end. But I was pretty happy to finish 5th, and like you said, barely got my second top 5 finish of the year. Feel like should at least be 4 or 5 of those, but it is what it is. Had a couple good solid finishes last couple races, so it's pretty much all you can ask for.
Well, like I said before, great job. Sorry for, kind of chewing you out about... Well, I didn't really chew you out. Some of the other guys were just, like you said, was just questioning who was holding up the field.
It was like, who the heck is that holding up that whole pack of cars? I'm just sitting there like, well, there's a plan to this madness.
Hey, look, I was P last at that time, so I couldn't see anything. I could just see a long line of cars and then a gap. So I was like, I don't know if that's what they're talking about. But anyway, I'm gonna chime in, but like, well, wait, who is it? Then you chimed in like,
number 4.
Like, whoops, sorry. But hey, look, your strategy worked. You finished P5, so great run, great job, staying out of trouble, and being the highest driver for the team. So it's definitely kudos to you. So Mr. Six is next in line. He finished P9. And I heard that you didn't really have the best of finish, that you really wanted some frustration. So take us through the week and tell us how you finished P9.
Start off the week as usual. We have our typical team practices, and I felt very, very good actually. Once I got my settings dialed in to where I liked them. I had actually some very, very good long run pace. Pretty much, I think 20, 25 laps into a run, I would just pretty much walk away from everybody. But I think the part where I struggled the most was short run, but you kind of almost had to sacrifice a little bit of the short run, kind of like what Nick was saying, to be good on the long run. And that was just because of how tight the set was initially starting off. You really had to protect the right front and keep the heat out of it. So, but as the race went on, qualified somewhere in the top 10. I actually don't even remember, honestly. Usually my goal is top 10 or top 10 qualifying. So if I get that, that's all that matters. But ultimately I was shocked with the way this race played out because it was very hard to pass. There was a point in that first run up until we got our first caution at some point. I was like 3 tenths faster than a lot of the guys in front of me, and I could get runs on them, but with the settings I was running, I couldn't drive in as deep as most people. So I like Andrew was one, for instance, where I would I got a good run on him, and then I would try to drive in underneath of him, but with the way my settings were, it basically stepped out or would wreck on entry. So I kind of got to give a little apology to Andrew because I almost wrecked him like twice, I think. But so up until that point, I was kind of getting frustrated because of just how hard it was to pass. Even though I was, like I said, multiple tenths faster, I felt like. So I think Kevin called out he was going to pit, and I usually have a game plan going into these races of what I'm going to do from a strategy standpoint, even before it happens, just so I don't have to necessarily come up with it on the fly. Especially if we have green flag runs like this, I can just do it without thinking. So I had in my mind I was pitting lap 50, and Kevin called. I think he was coming down on like 45, I believe it was. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna come down with him so I can try and leapfrog some of these guys like Andrew, Araya, and I think there was somebody else in the group in front of me. Try and get a better head start in front of them out of the pit cycle, and then we pitted and we came out, and then I think you guys over the chat were like talking about like why we pit kind of thing, and I was kind of confused because this race was supposed to be 150 laps. Come to my knowledge, it was actually 120. I don't know if it was a mistake on Evan's part or if it got changed last second, but at least on the schedule, it said 150. I know we usually run the same amount of laps as like NIS would. That's what they're running is 150. So I'm not sure exactly what happened. So in my mind, it was supposed to be a 2-stop race, but because of being a 120 lap race, it made it a 1-stop strategy. Which unfortunately, when I pitted, I was just outside the fuel window of like fully making it. So either way, I was forced into a 2-stop strategy at that point, which surprisingly, I think could have worked. I mean, it would have been very close. But Kevin and I were making up some really good time on the new tires compared to everyone on those olds with how long they had to stay out on them. So I would have been curious to see if the 2-stop strategy would have worked, but unfortunately we had the caution. Luckily, I was on the lead lap when that happened. The only bad thing was I had to start in the back because obviously Kevin and I like both came down and got fresh tires with the rest of the field and filled up, and of course we could all make it from that point to the end. So there was no more green flag pit stops or anything at that point. And of course Kevin and I I was following Kevin up through the field basically, and just had to try and pass. Unfortunately, as many cars as you could on fresh tires, because once everyone kind of got towards the end of a run, we, like I was saying, it was hard to pass. So you kind of everyone just stalled out, and you basically couldn't do anything. So I kind of burnt my stuff up by the time I got to about 8th place, I believe it was, as high as I got up to. And then, like I said, stalled out. I was kind of just praying for a late race caution. In all honesty, it was kind of my only shot to maybe go up and get a top 5 or maybe a shot at the win, because I feel like I had the speed to win. But all I could do was just settle in and try and get a top 10 finishes, which is ultimately my goal in all these races for the most part. It's just top 10, top 5 finishes. If you're consistently in those positions and put yourself in those positions, the wins will come. So I'm not like completely upset. I was just, my frustration / upsetness from this race was the ability to not really pass, and like I said, the lap change. I don't know, like I said, if it got changed or if it was just a mistake or something, but that really threw me off. But I know from now on, when I hop into session, that's the first thing I'm checking from now on.
Well, you know, we all make mistakes, and yeah, and I kind of wish I would have kind of reminded everybody, like, hey, like, it's actually not what was posted originally, but you know, it's one of those things. Like, it happens, but you know, kudos to you, you know, for still getting the top 10. I mean, you have the most top 10s. I mean, we've ran 12 races. You have 11 top 10s out of the 12 races. That's, you know, it's definitely something to be proud of. So, you know, I wouldn't hang your head. Jesus Christ, I wouldn't hang your head down too low. You know, top 10s are still good. Yeah, you know, you definitely could have probably went up there and definitely gave a shot at the win. But you know, it is what it is. So,
I mean, I'll put it this way: it's kind of like Kevin when he dominates a race, and obviously he gets frustrated if we have a late race caution and he got screwed over. Because I kind of felt like that with some of these tracks that we go to sometimes, and it's just like I had the winning pace, but circumstances kind of screw you over.
yeah. Well, you know, it's like I said, it's one of those things where, you know, there's a, you know, you win some, you lose some. I mean, like you said, we had talked off air, and you know, you had talked about, you know, you won races based off cautions. You know, Charlotte was one of the ones you mentioned, and yeah, if it wasn't for that caution, I mean, you probably don't win that race. And then there's some of them where you actually lost it because of the caution. So, you know, it's like I said, you win some, you lose some. But you know, it's one of those things where you know, it's a lesson learned. You'll definitely check the laps and how many laps you actually have in the race before making that fuel strategy. So that goes for everybody that's listening. Don't do that. Check your stuff. But all right, so I guess I'll get into mine. I finished P11. This week was a little bit different because we had a new build. So the car was well, I'll put it like this: when we tested the car before the build, we kind of got an idea of what to expect. Maybe if the build didn't go too extreme, let's just say when we came and tested the next day after the build or the same day, it was definitely to the extreme. In my opinion, it went from a race car that was, I wouldn't say a handful to drive, but you had to drive it a certain way, and it definitely made you on edge. And you just had to really be up on the wheel and do certain things to kind of make it go fast. Where I feel like the new build and the additions that they added kind of made it a little bit more easier to drive, which is not my cup of tea. I prefer cars that are difficult to drive and cars that allows me to, in my opinion, show my skills, which Unfortunately, you can still show your skills, but I just feel like now it's all about how hard can I drive it in the corner, um, and make it stick, and instead of like, hey, let me back up the corner so I don't overdrive and then spin out. Now it's I could drive it in harder, I could downshift, I'll make it stick, and I can make the pass. It just, in my opinion, just makes it harder on everybody to just pass in general now, because there's the lift. The lifting that you would probably do at the entry of the corner was bigger. Now it's smaller gap as far as lifting, so now everybody's just driving into the corner like a madman. So, but anyway, so going through that, trying to relearn how to drive the car. It for me, it came kind of quick. I kind of got an understanding pretty quickly of what I need to do. Our testing, I was on the quick side. I didn't have the long run, but I knew I was on the quick side, and so I felt pretty good. So I felt ready. Went into the race, and of course, for like the 5th race in a row, for some reason, I'm having frame issues. I don't know if it's my computer, or the applications I'm running in the background as far as telemetry and stuff like that, but it is basically causing my CPU to go, I guess, red, I guess, and I guess it's bogging or maxing. I don't know exactly what it's doing, but it's making the frames drop from, if I have 80 frames, I'm probably down to like 20, 25. I haven't ran in 20, 25 frames in probably since NR 2003. So it's very, very difficult to run like that, and it's kind of hard to see because there's cars popping in and out as well. So I basically just had to shut everything down, or turn off all the background stuff. I couldn't run telemetry or anything like that. And basically I just had to just run the race. I had to fall back at the beginning of the race because I really didn't want a chance not being able to know where someone was. So I fell back. It started to clear up. Made my way through the field. And unfortunately, just the way how the race goes now, there's no point of pitting early, because 9 times out of 10 there's going to be a caution in the middle of the pit strategy. So I said, well, I'm back here. I think I made it up to 15th, and I stayed out. And if it if it didn't work out, it worked exactly as I thought. Caution came out in the middle of the pit strategy, so there was cars that were lapped down, there were cars who had already pitted but had to come back down. So after the pitting, or after the caution, I think I restarted 9th or 10th. So at that point my goal was, okay, well, let me just try to get the top 10. But the way how everybody was driving, I didn't want to get wrecked. So there was a lot of dive bombs. There were a lot of just people moving people out the way, and I honestly, I wouldn't try to have any of that. I've been enough in incidents and stuff like that. I was just trying to cruise until kind of do what Nick was doing, to kind of just wait for the tires to come in, which it didn't work. I don't know why it doesn't work for me, but it didn't work. I was just really tight. Really nothing I could really do but to, at that point, just try and drive forward and try to pick up spots. So I went and did that. I had a crazy battle with Kevin King, where I felt like everybody else could pass him but me. So I know one lap I threw it in there pretty deep and got loose underneath of him. Got on the apron sideways. Our teammate Michael Johnson was right behind me. He gets sideways as well, trying to avoid me. Man, it was just ridiculous on my part, and I don't even think I even pushed the brakes that hard. So, I apologize to Kevin and everything. He said it was not that big of a deal, but unfortunately, I did finally get by him, but I couldn't get. I kind of messed me up to get my top 10. So, finished P11. But overall, I mean, I felt the racing was fun. Passing was very, very difficult. So if you start up front, that's was key. You had to start up front, and because of that, we had a repeat winner. The number 2 car wins again, back to back. He won his first race. I guess that would be at what race did we race at before? Gateway. So he went ahead and won that race, and Sam backed it up and won again. And I gotta give props to the whole Flat Out Motorsports. They finished 1, 2, 3. I mean, whatever they're doing, they're swinging, and they're swinging for the checkers and for the win. So shout out to them, props to them for finishing 1, 2, 3. I think the last team that did that was it us? I think at Talladega last year, or no? Wait,
Okay.
no,
Pocono, I think.
no. I think Altus Esports. I think they did it at Daytona, but then maybe we did it. I don't know. It was either us at Pocono or Altus Esports did it. Either way, it doesn't happen too often. And when it does, in my opinion, as much as it hurts to see that we could have won, but things happen. To watch a team go ahead and finish 1, 2, 3 is pretty crazy to see that in sim racing. So that's basically how the race went for us three. Go ahead.
I will say one thing you brought up during yours, and might be a good little topic to discuss, but basically with the update in the car, I guess for more Nick, since you kind of already said that what you thought about it, Billy, but I guess how you feel about this updated car compared to the version that we had before the update. I'll give my opinion then, but I'm curious to see what your all's opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about this? You go first. Tell us yours. Nick, you go, and then I'll finish it up.
Well, I think before update, I want to say this car was definitely hard to drive. We all kind of saw that early on. Kind of took a while for people to adapt to it. That like, hey, we can't drive it as hard as like the old car. Mostly because you don't have that side force or that almost forgiveness. Basically, when you drive into a corner, like it's like, oh, I'm going to drive in deep, and then there's something here to catch me in case I mess up or I did drive in too deep or whatever. Unfortunately, with the way the current build is now that we just got, I feel like I'm not gonna say it's like side force. It probably has to do with the rear diffuser being dropped and then the roadblocks being dropped. So the whole car is basically lowered, which kind of maybe gives it that more planted feeling. But like you kind of touched on it, Billy, where we saw this week where the car was more forgiving. So you would see people drive into the corner really deep, where previous build, I feel like probably most people wouldn't have done that. Just because there's a chance you drive into that corner and you wreck the car. Now I feel like you can drive in there, and I'm not saying you can't wreck the car, but like, I don't know. It's pretty hard to wreck the car now, I feel like, based off the testing that we did. And then even in the race, it was pretty hard to wreck it, in my opinion. Like I said, the only reason me personally was loose, but that was just because of settings and stuff I was running on entry. But for the most part, the car is pretty well planted. That, and I think when the car steps out too, which I feel like is not correct. But I mean, this is the latest iRacing data, but I feel like it's not correct because like there's sometimes in testing, when we were testing Nashville, that the car would step out, and I feel like it was really easy to save the car. Where before, like you could save it, but it was pretty tough. Like, and sometimes you didn't save it. It was either you just wreck it to your inside and keep the car clean, or you, as we saw early in the season, where people would try and save it and they would overcorrect into the outside wall. I feel like that's not a thing anymore in this car. But I'm curious to see what you guys think.
Well, I definitely think. I mean, I don't know if it could also be the setup at this track, at Nashville, but I did notice that, in testing, whatever, I get a little sideways, and I could actually mostly save it, like you said, without totally destroying it. It still took a lot more than the other cars, and I was telling you guys I was doing a B fixed race last night. It's so weird how that car can get so much more sideways and how you will actually drive it more sideways than the next gen car. So I think even with the update, yeah, it's a little bit more forgiving than it was, but it's still nothing compared to what the Xfinity car or the truck are. But yeah, I did notice that it felt like it was a little bit easier to save. And like you said, who knows how realistic it is, but you would hope that it's pretty realistic, because like you said, this is the most recent data they've gotten from NASCAR.
Yeah, I guess here's my thing. Like, I feel like these cars are not that easy to save based on like watching them on TV, but I don't know. Like, I understand why these cars, like, I don't expect them to drive like the truck or Xfinity, and they shouldn't, because these cars aren't meant to be just like hang the right rear out, just because one, they're independent rear suspension is kind of one of those factors. And I think that's the thing that kind of threw me off with, at least with Nashville, and I guess we'll see with the next oval that we run. I don't know about you, but like I couldn't feel the rear end shift, at least on this setup for Nashville. Like a lot of the other tracks that we would run earlier in the season, a lot of times you could feel the rear end kind of like shift. I didn't feel that with this car, at least this week that we ran. So, I don't know. I guess I'm in the mindset. I feel like this car should not be easy to drive, and I feel like it's easy to drive now. I guess that's where I'm at with it, but ultimately we don't know because we don't drive the real car. So,
True. I don't know. I mean, like I said, it definitely feels easier to drive. I guess if I'm gonna put a percentage on it, I would say maybe 15% easier. I would need more testing. I would need to test more at different tracks. I probably would need, if I remember correctly, you said you went back to Gateway right after the build, and you said you were, I thought you said quite a bit faster
yeah,
than the.
I think I was like a full second faster or something.
Yeah, I think that is what you said, which is absolutely crazy. Which tells me, it is gripped up, but I don't know, because I'm sitting here thinking, I watched qualifying today, and of course got frustrated again after Bubba win and didn't produce anything. Anyway, off topic. But yeah, so I'm sitting there listening, and I think it was Group 1, I think it was, and somebody had said how much harder they had to, it might have been Burton, who said basically how much harder they had to drive it into the corner, and that basically you had to, like, that was how you had to drive this car. You had to drive it super deep into the corners in order to find the speed, in order to have the speed. And in a sense, for sim racing, I do sense that. I sense that when we ran Nashville, definitely, for sure. There's people driving it really in the corner. And I think, even some of us on the team, I mean, just the way our brake bias and everything was set up, I mean, that's what we had to do. You couldn't really back up the corner, like you could before, where if you backed up the corner, you can actually set it up so that way you can have a great run off the corner. But now, with the shifting involved as well, so now you got driving in the corner, I'm a downshift. So if a downshift is going to hike up the RPMs, and it's going to allow me to get the torque coming off the corner. Well, you've kind of taken away the aspect of, having to lift more, because now a lot of these guys are not going to do that. They're going to hot lap it every freaking lap. Now, eventually, yeah, I mean, the guys who figure out how to do it properly won't burn up their tires as much. But the ones who, aren't really that good on the long run, like myself right now, I can't do that. If I try to do that, I won't have tires at the end of the fuel run. I'm going to blow a tire. So, for me, as a driver, it hurts me, because I can't be, I can't be as easy as I used to be and know that, hey, in a couple laps they'll come back to me. It doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like, hey, if I can save, and be easy for about 10 to 15 laps, then maybe with, if it's a late run, maybe I can grab a 5 spots or so. But that whole idea of, hey, I can, drive from the back to the front, that whole thing is gone. I just think that everybody's driving so much harder, and just the new discipline of how you have to drive this car with this, even with this new build, it's just so different compared to how it was with the last build.
Well, I don't fully disagree. I felt like that's how you had to drive it before the build too. Is you kind of drove it sort of aggressive.
That's probably why. That probably explains a lot.
But there. I guess here's my issue with this updated version: is before you drive aggressive, you find that limit of like where you're barely on the edge of like where the rear end's like almost wanting to step out, but you can't let it step out because, as we saw early in the season, if you stepped out, you were more than likely wrecking the car. Now it's like you can kind of go past that now. You can kind of let the car step out, and you can kind of save it or drive through it almost. Like Nashville had that nasty bump in 3 and 4, and for the most part, you could sort of drive through it. Now, if you hit it a certain way, there were times like you could actually wreck the car, but for the most part, you could drive through it. Like if it was before the build, more than likely you're not driving through that. I guess that's the part that's kind of questionable. I guess for me is like, I feel like these cars are not meant to be stepped out like that. Sure, you can get them a little bit sideways and probably save them, but like I said, in our testing, there were sometimes I could get them like straight dead sideways, like the old car, and still get it straightened back up.
Yeah, so that's not good if that's the case. But I mean, Nick did bring up a point. Maybe it's just a setup. Like we really haven't. I mean, our next track is Road America, which we'll get into that later. But we did some testing on there, and we really can't you can't compare. In my opinion, you can't compare this to Road America. We would need to run and test at another oval or another concrete track, I would say, and see if it still does feel like that. But that's definitely something we're probably gonna have to look out for. And we'll continue to talk over the next couple of episodes to see like, hey, like, yeah, whether they really, if we really feel like, hey, maybe they did make it a little bit easier to drive, which kind of suck if that's the direction they kind of went into, because like you said, in real life, I mean, shoot, in qualifying you watch Kyle Busch self-spin. I know, Nick, I know you don't really care for Kyle Busch, but he is, a pretty talented driver, and to watch him self-spin, kind of tells. I knew it was coming. Just for everybody knows, Nick Silver does not like Kyle Busch. Does not. Really doesn't like any Toyota drivers. Six doesn't really either. I'm really the only Toyota driver now.
I mean, I like Bubba and Kurt. I actually like Bubba and Kurt.
Okay, breaking news.
And Christopher Bell's all right too.
Breaking news: these guys are now jumping on the bandwagon for Toyota. The
No.
last time no, I'm joking.
Let's just say,
No.
I'm a little bummed, or I'm pretty bummed Martin Truex is coming back next year. Boo.
Oh, yeah.
my
I
God.
didn't even know that.
Don't get me
Yes.
started on old Denny.
That guy needs to retire. And Denny
Oh,
needs to retire.
come on. See, here we go. God, Jesus. Okay, look, we're getting off topic, okay? If y'all want to talk about that, we can talk about that later on. But to put a pin in this one, yeah, so we're going to have to definitely look out for, just when we do our testing and stuff, and, we'll kind of discuss, what we felt and, see.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, the next oval that we run is Atlanta. So,
Yeah, so that's gonna be interesting because that is really setup dependent. If we have a setup that allows us to move around, like the old gen, maybe. In the
I guess
old gen we can run the bottom, the middle, and the high. But I don't know. I mean, we might be flat footing it. I
Well, the other
I
thing-
pray that we're not, but.
I'll say the other thing is, too, it depends on if we actually get the new version of Atlanta. If we get the new version, it's going to be flat out.
iRacing, if you're listening, please do not give us the new version. Let us run on the old one, please. I do not want this new one yet. Please.
But if it is the old one, if I recall from early in the season, from watching, I think you run NIS or an A-Fix race. I think it was a tight set, and
yeah, I think it probably was.
I think you kind of had to save tires a little bit for long run, if I remember correctly. So,
Oh, that's probably the one I wrecked myself. Probably.
I don't fully recall, but
No, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's what that was because I remember getting wrecked a lot.
I
For
mean,
some
I
reason,
do
I get
remember
wrecked
you.
all the time in Atlanta. I don't know why.
I mean, I do remember you being pretty quick there, though.
Yeah, look, this is a new build, sir. I don't know what I am now. Probably slow, but yeah. So we'll definitely have to, like I said, we'll see and keep you guys posted on our opinions on the car. So there is a couple things that I want to talk about as well, and they get you guys' opinion. So, of course, people listening, if you don't know, Keeping It Real Esports is the team that I owned. That consists of 8 of us. And as a team, well, per the rules, we can only have 5 drivers max per team. Now, since we had 8 drivers coming into the season this year, I said, hey, well, let's keep Team 1 the way that it was, which was myself, Nick Silver, Sean Casto, and Chris Rabel. And then for Team 2, we did mainly the newcomers, which was 6. I'm going blank. William Smith, Brian Chambliss, and who am I missing? I'm missing somebody. Why am I missing somebody? It'll come to me. There's 4 drivers on each
Johnson.
team.
Michael Johnson.
Thank you, Michael Johnson. Jeez, that's bad. I should know my drivers like the back of my hand. Anyway, so that was the kind of the idea coming into it, right? So, for the Xfinity winter season, we won the team championship and got a trophy. So, we felt like coming into this year, we were going to really do good. For the most part, a lot of the guys ran the winter series and ran really good. Really showed our strength, and that's probably why we're in the situation we're in now. But showed our strength and really showed out. So like I said, coming into to the Cup season, our focus was give everybody on the team, let's everybody get a win. Nobody expected 6 to bust out 4 wins as a rookie, but we're still happy about that. We're still happy that happened. But as a team, we haven't pulled up the numbers that we were kind of expecting. And honestly, the team right now that's really showing out is Flat Out. Like I said earlier, you know, they've Sam's won back-to-back wins. If I remember correctly, they had a 1-2 finish at Gateway, and then had a 1-2-3 finish here at Nashville. I mean, are they the new team to beat? I mean, is that what we're looking at? Like, we're gonna have to chase them down and really go after them to try to get our wins and take the #1 point standing for the team again? Trying to see what you guys' thoughts are on that.
Well, they're definitely the team with all the momentum right now. I think it's just a series of unfortunate events with our two teams. You've got, like, you know, two guys on each one. You know, 2 or 3 guys on each one that's getting good finishes, but each of our two teams have some drivers that have had some bad luck fall their way. You know, on Team 1, I think you said Chris is on that team. We all know about his bad luck this season. The dude can't buy himself a top 10 finish, unfortunately. And then, you know, Sean Casto, he's shown speed, but hasn't gotten the top 10 finishes either. And then when you go to the Team 2, you know, Brian Chambliss, same thing. If anybody could have worse luck than Chris, I'd say it's Brian. And he hasn't had the season he was hoping for, unfortunately. And then William. Honestly, I'm not really sure what's going on with William's season. I think he's just been quietly up there with speed, but same thing as Sean, like, he can't, circumstances haven't fallen his way to get the finishes that he deserves. So I think, like I said, unfortunately, we don't have one good team where everybody's getting good finishes. We've got two teams where half, unfortunately, have had snake bit seasons, and so that's affecting us in the standings.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that as well. It's basically comes down to where it's 1 or 2 drivers that put up, like, really good points that week, and then, like, the third driver unfortunately just doesn't put up the points that we need or whatever, get a caught in a wreck or late race cautions, throw them out of a different strategy, and they just don't get to finish where they should have, or whatever it may be. And I kind of brought this up to you, Bowie, the one night that we were talking. I mentioned that how Flat Out has basically the full 5 drivers filled on their team, and basically mentioned about how obviously we can't do it this year, but in the future years, like, we probably should be doing 5 drivers on a team. Even if it's still 8 of us, yeah, it doesn't make it fair for Team 2 or whatever team it ends up being. But from a bullet standpoint, basically, you get at least 2 bullets to have bad races, and then the other, as long as you have 3 that have good finishes, that's all that matters. To get you your maximum points, essentially, for that team. Because, like I said, currently what we're dealing with is, like I said, we'd always have 2 good drivers and 2 that don't really finish, so that third driver ends up kind of hurting. Where, like, Flat Out, being that they have 5 drivers, if they have 2 guys that have bad finishes, 3 drivers that still have decent finishes, well, they still get a lot of good points.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the one thing that hurts us, and unfortunately, I think we need that extra bullet on a team right now. But at the same time, we're capable as a team. Like, no matter which team you're on, we're all really good drivers and are capable of top 10 finishes every week. We just got to do it.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to get you guys' take on that. 'Cause like I said, I mean, it's you can't not, you know, see what Flat Out is out there doing. I mean, they're, you know, maybe, you know, Gateway caution doesn't come out, of course. You know, Sam doesn't win that race, but you know, took advantage of it and they made it work. And then they come in here and they are putting on a clinic. So, but go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I mean, like, Nashville was a good example. So you had, like you were saying, Flat Out finishing 1, 2, 3, and then they have 5 drivers, but I guess the 5th one didn't show up. But they also had, Grant was the other Flat Out driver. He finished 13th.
I think Bradley Burke is on their team. I think.
Um,
Of course, I would have to look that up.
oh yeah, Bradley Burke.
Yeah,
which-
so I don't think he had the best finish. I think he finished top 20. So yeah, that I think, unless he got caught up in some stuff.
Oh no, okay, yeah, I see him now. No, so they did have all 5 drivers there. So yeah, he
Yeah.
finished 15th.
Okay.
So like they had 2 drivers that, I mean, honestly 13, 15 is still a good
Yeah.
point / a good finish. But compared to 3 drivers that finished 1, 2, 3, it's
Yeah.
like, man.
Yeah.
So
It's definitely gonna be
like I said-
a tall task for us to kind of figure out how we can maximize our points week in and week out. And I think as the owner, I kind of had to just fall back and just let you guys do your thing. I mean, like you said, Six. I mean, every driver on our team can finish top 10. Every driver on our team could actually go out there and win. We just need things to work in our favor, and unfortunately, they really haven't. Besides you, where a lot of things have worked in your favor. From either caution coming out or you just basically going out there and whooping everybody's tail. Your 4 wins are huge this early in the season. So, but I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and say 4 wins. You're locked in to make the playoffs, which you are. But I think we still have to acknowledge some of the drivers, and we'll talk about the power rankings as well, because that'll be interesting as well for you guys to look at. But even the power rankings even show it as well. There's some drivers, including Flat Out, that we might need to start looking at. 'Cause they're slowly but surely starting to make some noise.
Well, it comes down to ultimately consistency. Where, like I said, like for me personally, my goal is top 10. Like Nashville ultimately ended up being a bad race for me. Even though I feel like I said it should have been maybe a top 5 or even a win. I mean, there was one point in that race where I was 20th. So my focus was like, all right, well, I'm 20th. There's no way I'm getting back up to the lead or top 5 at this point, unless we get some cautions to help me. So my goal was just to get top 10 and take my points and move on. It's not much else I can do, honestly. But it's what it ultimately comes down to. If we get most of our drivers to finish top 5 to top 10 every week, put up those points, you constantly keep chipping away at it. You keep putting up the good points. I mean, sure, you could have Flat Out have weeks like this where they finish 1, 2, 3, but heck, there could be weeks where it's like we could go to Daytona, as long as we all finish and they get all wrecked out. That's some big points right there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're right.
Things could definitely get changed up throughout the season. We still got a lot of races to go, so still a very close battle. It's actually at least good to see another team battling, because I know last year in the Cup Series, you guys pretty much dominated. I don't think anyone was really super close. And then, of course, the Winter Series wasn't really much of a battle either, if I remember correctly. So
Yeah.
it's good to see a good battle, even between our 2 teams plus Flat Out. So.
Yes, sir. I agree. So we're gonna take a little bit step back. So I can't keep up with the schedule. So either it was last week or the week before last. We ran at Gateway. We had talked about the situation between Rhett and Grant. Because there was a caution with 2 laps to go. They were the 2 cars involved that caused the caution. And honestly, I wanted to kind of get their take on what happened, and just see if maybe we could get both of them on, and maybe we can hear both of their sides. I didn't As you can see me doing my best trying not to crash myself, and along with MJ. That was a bad moment. But anyway, so I was trying to see if I can possibly get them on, but it doesn't look like they were able to come on. So, but I did get a statement um, from Rhett and from Grant. So I'm gonna read you guys a statement, and you guys can, hopefully give you guys his opinion or last thought on it, and then we can put a pin in Gateway and move on, because I'm kind of ready to be done with Gateway. So, with Rhett, and I'll quote, "I really don't disagree with all the views of that particular incident. I probably could have backed off getting into the corner and just let him go earlier. However, like Nick said, I had knocked the wall down and damaged my car. Honestly, I wasn't trying to race him because I knew he was better than me. At the point, I was just rolling the top. However, I think the problem came when he went to the brakes. You can look at the in-car. He's turning the wheel, but the car is going straight. To be honest, that's the long and short of it, in my view too. Grant and I spoke about it. I don't think he meant to do it. I think he was trying to get all he could. And in hindsight, I probably could have made it easier for him. But I was so slow at that point, I didn't want to get run over from the car behind me slowing early for the corner. I'm not sure if that was Nick or not, but I was very slow and I wasn't sure of the closing speed, so that's why I rolled the top instead. Either way, I was over it in about 5 minutes after the race, but hate that Kevin and Brandon had their race affected by it." End quote. So again, that quote was from Rhett, and Grant response to the situation was, quote, "Yep, like I had told Rhett, I didn't feel like I pushed that hard into the corner and it started to turn, then didn't. Wasn't malicious. I wasn't trying to crowd him as suggested in the podcast. I legit just pushed tight and then we hooked. I made a mistake and I apologize, owned it, and I'm going to do my best to not let that happen again as for any mistake I make." End quote. So now that you guys have heard both quotes from Rhett and Grant, do you guys have any final thoughts?
I guess Rhett really didn't need to, reach out too much because I never thought it was anything to do with him to begin with. I think ultimately we all realized that it was on Grant's end, and obviously he didn't mean it. But in the result, it still happened. Like we take the apology, obviously. I'm sure every driver does that it affected, but it's just in the moment, it's a hard one to swallow, and obviously for Kevin probably the most, because he hands down had the race won if a caution doesn't come out. And it obviously affected me from just getting a decent finish from how crappy my race started there. So it's just I guess I liked from both sides, where it's like Rhett kind of is more open, like in that situation, like maybe he should have maybe just backed off just a touch more to give Grant that room. If that was his ultimate goal, is just to let Grant go and move on and can try and get a decent finish for himself. And then, I mean, I understand maybe Grant doesn't realize that's happening, but it's hard. It's a hard one to swallow when, you especially know, like someone's trying to give you the spot, and then you still end up wrecking each other. Especially when it's like a trying to give and take situation. So it is what it is. I'm kind of over it at this point. I don't know if Kevin still is, but I'm sure he's over it as well at this point. But
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I don't know about Kevin. I guess one day I'll have to ask him. Say, hey, you over that yet? Probably not. As many laps as he led, I mean, it's probably gonna sting just a little bit longer until he actually gets a win on a non-super speedway. I think that's when he'll probably be over it. But Nick, you got any thoughts on that, buddy?
I'll just echo what Six said. I don't really think Rhett needed to make any sort of statement. Nobody was really blaming him for the incident. And I mean, I'll accept that Grant's car just went straight when he got on the brakes. But it just brings you back to my first point, like Six was saying, and like Rhett was saying, he was basically letting him by for that spot. So I still stand by my first assessment that, he could have been aiming to enter lower. And, if he was just easier into the corner, entering lower, A, he wouldn't have locked up his brakes, if he was being easier, and B, he would have gotten him out of the corner by the next corner anyway. So, but I wasn't trying to shit on Grant, back on that last podcast. He said it, and I actually said it on the podcast. He doesn't make these mistakes very often. So I'm not going out there saying, he's known for this. Everybody makes mistakes. I've made stupid mistakes. I've wrecked people before. I was just pointing out that it was probably a mistake that didn't really need to happen and ruined a lot of people's races. And I'm not really sure if Grant got the point of that. He made his posts in Discord and, saying that him and Rhett talked about it, that we should have had them on the show to explain their side. That's beside the point. We're not saying that he only screwed over Rhett. His wreck affected a large number of other people, affected their races in a negative way. So, the fact that him and Rhett talked about it's great and everything, but, my race was affected, Six's race was affected, everybody's race was affected. So that's just why we were discussing it. It wasn't really to shit on somebody, it was just to, bring to light an incident like we do on this podcast and just discuss how it might have been avoided and how it might be avoided in the future. So I've been over it, we've moved on. But anyway, that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, very well said. Thank you, sir. Thanks both of you guys. And I want to definitely thank Rhett and Grant for making that post. They probably didn't have to. They could have just, stayed to themselves. But, I thought it was good, for them to make kind of that final post and kind of just end it. There's been incidents in this league before involving championships, which I'm not going to get into, which people thought that, it was malicious and that it was done intentionally, and then put a lot of, put blame on a couple drivers and said, oh, well, they did this, and, they were, I guess you're going to say, they paid him to do this and that type of stuff. And for the most part, I don't really think anybody would ever pay anybody. And yes, I know it's probably all jokes and everything, but for some drivers, they take this seriously. Well, I should say for a lot of drivers, they take it seriously. So, apology does go a long way. I mean, does it fix the situation that happened? No, it doesn't. But it might show that you have a little bit of humility and that you do actually give a shit at times. So, we're all racers here, and when we get in the car, we're completely different people. I mean, that's just how it is. When we're out of the car, we're probably all the nicest people you can ever have a conversation with, hang out with, talk to, whatever. But when it's race time, it gets aggressive, and it you got to put your big boy britches on, and big girl britches if you're female. So it's just different. But like I said, I appreciate them, speaking their mind, speaking their piece, and that way we can put a pin in it, and we are officially done with Gateway. As you can see, the 13 and the 29 literally banging doors with MJ trying to get past Kevin King. I can't remember if I don't think he does here. Maybe he does. Anyway, so you guys can continue to watch that in the background. So, alright, so that is it for that. Again, we have talked about the winner. We said that the winner was the 2 car. Which for some reason I cannot remember his name today, and I apologize. Flat Out Motorsports basically won the damn race. Okay, they finished 1, 2, 3. So on that note, we are going to let's get into the results. Take a look, see where everybody else finished. All right, welcome back. So we got our results up, and I apologize, Sam. I don't know why I couldn't remember your name. I know it. It wouldn't come out of my mouth. So apologize. So congratulations again to Sam Nieto for getting his back-to-back win. Again, he won at Gateway, and this past weekend, he won at Nashville. So congratulations to him. Congratulations to the whole Flat Out Motorsports for finishing 1, 2, 3, as we've talked about that. Michael Lara finishing P2, Joseph Tice finishing P3. Andrew had a good race, finishing P4. Great top 5 for him. Our driver Nick Silver getting his P5, getting his second one of the year. Just gotta keep that up, man. Agnell Phillip, who dominated the race. Actually, no, I'm sorry, he did not. He had 53 laps led. Sam had 67, so actually Sam dominated. But Agnell was out there a lot in the front. And I think for him, he was fast on the short run, but didn't really have anything on the long run. So, but still solid top 10 for him. Cody Harris finishes P7. Our driver Michael J. Johnson coming home P8. That's one of his better finishes of the year, so great to see that. P6, not the finish he wants. Brandon 6 finishes P9, not the finish he wants, but he will take a P10. Jeremy Miller with a back-to-back top 10 finish. Good job to him. Myself finishing P11 after falling all the way back to 36. Not bad for myself. Kevin King struggled the majority of the race. I talked to him, and he basically said he had a plow box after about 10-15 laps. So I'm pretty sure this is just one of those flukes. I'm pretty sure he'll get everything figured out, and he'll be back running top 10. Probably at Road America. He's pretty good at the road courses. Grant, another one part of the Flat Out Motorsports. We talked about him and his response to the situation at Gateway. He comes home and finishes P13. Connor Horn, which all of us said like we didn't even know he ran the race. He was actually pretty quiet. So he finishes P14. Bradley Burke Connor Horn finishes P14. Bradley Burke finishes P15. Our driver Sean Castro comes home P16. P17, Brian Chambliss, another one of our drivers. Ross Cato, P18, Kyle Trudell, P19, Timothy Johnston, P20. And as you can see the rest of the results from here. For you guys, anybody that stands out, surprised about, not surprised about, scared of, anything like that?
I gotta say, I was pretty impressed with Joseph Tice getting third place. He was up there. He was, I don't know if he was top 5 the whole race, because I do remember him right in front of me when I was about 13th, but I think right after that point he just disappeared and ran the top 5 pretty much the whole rest of the race after that. So that was good to see him get a good finish. I don't think he's had many of those this season, and he's showing some promise now, so that was cool to see. And then the other surprise in the finish for me was Agnell, just because he did lead so many laps, but somehow, for some reason, on that last half of the race, the last green flag run, he just fell off. He was holding me and Andrew up, and then we both kind of got by him. And I was just kind of surprised that he had dropped off so much there.
I was gonna say, I've kind of noticed that with Agnell lately. Like he's quick, he's getting the poles and everything, but he's not able to stay up front. So I don't know if that's his settings or what specifically is going on, or maybe he's trying to find a certain feel is probably what I would assume. And he has the feel in the short run, but doesn't have the feel in the long run, and maybe he was hoping for a caution. Race like we had last year. Last year we had a lot of cautions. So I don't know. Maybe he was expecting that. But I'm pretty confident once he figures it out, he's gonna be another fast one. I'm sorry, but 6. Go ahead.
I was gonna kind of say the same thing about Agno. Like, I think we kind of joke about it here on the team. Like, oh, Agno's probably gonna get another pole because he is just that quick usually on qualifying. Yeah, he always shows the short run pace, but long run wise, he kind of struggles just a touch, I think. But yeah, just a Tice, I think is a good one. I don't recall seeing him finish top 10 much this season. So it's a good finish for him, obviously. And obviously I got to bring up because of one of our topics, but Daniel Eberhardt, another bad finish.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were just saying, like, if he doesn't have any good finishes here soon, like, he probably won't make it in them point or make it up to top 25 in points to make his win count.
Yeah, I agree, and it's actually kind of crazy. And when we kind of bring up the power rankings, we'll can go into a little bit more. But the other driver that has a win that's not really doing too well either is my mind is so gone today. Is Aussie driver, can't think of his name.
Matt Danson.
Thank you, Matt Danson. I'm gonna have to clip the shit out of that because I can't do that.
At least I'll defend Danson though a little bit, just because when he does race, he finishes actually pretty decent for the most part.
Yeah.
It's just I think this week he didn't race because of something, or I forget.
Yeah,
I remember reading it in Discord, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, it looked like he had a personal thing going on, so he couldn't race. That's kind of why I posted to make sure everything was good. He said, yeah, everything was good though. So, but yeah, so as far as the and the point that I'm making is that basically you don't have to, run every race. We get 5 drops, and then after that, like you have to run the rest of the races. If I remember correctly, he has like 3 or 4 drops. Like he's close. He might have 5 now I think about it, but he's close to not making it. So Danson has to make all the rest of the races for the most part.
Yeah,
Eberhardt,
he's sitting at 4 races most.
Yeah, so he has 1 more. So after that, like it's gonna get sketchy. But hopefully, he can make the rest of the races. As far as Eberhardt, dude, like I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the results aren't there, and
I almost, I'll say real quick, I almost feel like, and I could be completely wrong, and maybe it's just the way things have turned out. Like some weeks I see him, he has speed, and it's like other weeks it's just like he's out to lunch.
Yeah,
like it almost looks like he's completely lost and doesn't know what to do with the setup.
So,
go ahead.
Well, not to somewhat on topic. I've just got my research guy in my ear here. Through some quick research, that 3rd place finish by Joseph Tice was his first top 10 finish in the RSR Cup Series since September 21st of 2020 at Bristol.
Holy!
So I'm just gonna go out and say, great job, Joseph.
Yeah.
It was a hell of a strong run, and way to get the monkey off your back.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, yeah.
We had to dig deep for that one.
Okay. That's some digging there.
My research guy just kept clicking back. Yeah, that's dedication right there. So, shout out to your stats guy, aka you. But yes.
Hopefully that's the start of some momentum for him.
Yeah, and yes, we don't want to hype up, other drivers who are now on the team, but like I said before, I feel like you got to give respect where respect is due, and you can't take anything away from his 3rd place finish. I mean, if he hasn't had a top 10 finish since 2020. That's Damn.
Top 5. But yeah,
Top 5. I'm sorry. That's a long time. That's a very very long time. So hopefully he was able to get off the sim, maybe go have a drink, sit back, relax. I mean, I don't know if he's a father or anything like that, so go spend time with your kids or whatever. Hopefully he just got to enjoy the moment. If I remember correctly, all 3 of them were doing donuts at the end of the race, so I'm pretty sure he got to enjoy themselves, and the rest of the team did as well. That was pretty good. But as far as Eberhardt, I think you were saying something, Six.
No, I just said about how, like I said, how some weeks that he was like he's really fast and he had like pace for getting a win or whatever it may be, and then other weeks it's just like I'm coming up through the field and like around 15th place, and here's Eberhardt. I'm like, what are you doing back here? Like in my mind, it's like he should be up near top 5 somewhere. And it's just like, I don't know. He just almost looks lost.
Yeah, I mean, look, we got a 4-time champion who is just now starting to figure it out. Andrew is a 4-time champion. I don't know how. I can't look it up right now. He has over 50 wins. I'm guessing. I'm pretty confident. If our stats guy could get it pulled up before I move on to the next subject. But I'm pretty confident he has over 50 wins. And it's taking him this long to, looks like he's starting to figure it out. Looks like he's starting to find that feeling that he's looking for. So, am I surprised that Eberhardt is where he is? Yes and no. Because the last the seasons that I ran, that I made the Final Four, which is, I think I ran 3 seasons, and I was in the Final Four 2. Well, no wait, I don't know how many seasons I was here, but anyway, my whole point is every time I was in the Final Four, so was Eberhardt, and every time I was in the Final Four, so was Andrew. So, am I concerned? Yes. But not really. Because Eberhardt could go out here, and if he really, in my opinion, if he really, really, truly put his mind to it, and put in the time, and put in the practice, maybe not at Road America, okay? I mean, I think we all know if Danson races, or Liam races, Cody, those are probably the top 3, unless somebody new comes into the league this week. Those are the top 3 drivers that could win on a road course, hands down. And then you sprinkle, the rest of us that could take it if they choke and wreck each other or some shit like that. But after that, if Eberhardt gets his shit together, he could still make it. It's going to be very difficult, because then you can't get wrecked. You got to finish probably top 5 every race. You got to maximize every point that you have. Lead every lap. Lead a lap. Don't get in scuffles with anybody. Don't intentionally wreck anybody. Put your head down, focus, and go for the wins or for the top 5s. Then yeah, I think he can. But if he's mentally not there, I don't see, then I don't see it. Then I see, even though he won a race, I don't see him making it.
I don't think he makes it either.
Which honestly, I think it's a disappointment. As good as Eberhardt, as I've seen in the past, Eberhardt can go ahead and knock off 3-4 wins in a season, probably plus more. He's that good. But I've also noticed that if his head's not in it, then he's not gonna run that well. So we'll see. Definitely gonna keep an eye on it. I know we talk about it every week, but in my opinion, I think we talk about him because it's like week kind of expect him to run up there, run up front, and he's not running up front. If you want to compare him to anybody, you can really say he's comparable to Andrew. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have words for it, honestly, 'cause it's like you race him in almost every other series, and it's like he's super fast, and it's like I don't know if it's here, if he just doesn't care, which sometimes I feel like that's what it comes down to. Sometimes when you watch him, it's like it looks like he just doesn't care.
Yeah, and like I said, mentally he could be there. He could be like, I don't care. I'm just gonna do the races, and whatever happens, happens. If I make it, I make it. I don't. Like I said, which suck, because I actually, when playoffs come, I like racing him because we race hard against each other, but we race clean. But like I said, if he does it, then it kind of sucks. But it is what it is. He could have other stuff going on. But we're not gonna harbor on it anymore. We're gonna go ahead and move on. So let's bring up the standings. Once I click the right link. So alright, so the standings. I mean, honestly, they kind of look like kind of how I expected. Top 4 doesn't change at all. Not surprised. Sam Nieto, picks up 2 spots. Okay, kind of expected it. Myself and Andrew. Now, Andrew dropping was a little surprise, but I think me and him are so close in points that Sam just getting the win. I mean, he's only 1 point in front of me, so I mean it's I guess that's understandable. Agnell picking up 2 spots. Bradley Burke losing a spot along with Thomas George. Connor Horn staying the same. MJ picking up 2 spots, which is good with his top 10 finish. Sean having again, he's still having an up and down year. Michael Loria finishing P2 moves him up 3 spots. Timothy Johnson, I know he struggled, losing 2 spots. Tom Wetmore was involved in that one single caution that we had. Basically just clipped the 19 car. Don't think it was a lot of damage, but that pretty much, with him probably had to get the damage fixed and probably trying to come back through the field, it was going to be a struggle. So Ross Cato, picking up 3 spots, so shout out to him. Fortunately, Danton, like we said, didn't get the race because he has some personal things going on, so he loses a spot. Williams stays the same, and then round out your P20, which is Rhett McBride, picks up a spot. So once again, anybody shine out to you guys, or anybody you guys want to give a shout out to, or that you think might be in trouble?
I just gotta say, as a team, I was looking the other night and actually sorting it by wins, because you really got to do that to look at the full playoff picture coming up. And we got a few guys that are right there at the cutoff, in danger of missing it, or behind the cutoff in danger of missing it. We got Sean's pretty close. He's right there about that 16th spot. I think he's like 15th or 14th right now, but barely a few points ahead of the cutoff.
Yeah.
And then obviously we got William and Chris behind the cutoff. I don't think by a whole lot, but they're behind it. And then obviously poor Brian has had the year from hell, and he's far back there. He's got to have basically the rest of the season, like you were saying, Eberhardt needs to have.
Yeah.
But we still got some races. I don't know, 6 or 7 to go before the cutoff or before the playoffs start. So they still got some time. But I think now's the stretch you really got to buckle down and focus on getting those consistent finishes, because all it takes is 1 or 2 more winners, and you could find yourself out of it.
Yeah, that's very true. That's when it starts to get a little scary. What do we have? 9 races left now, I think. 8 races. Okay, so are we gonna get 8 new winners? No. But there are
Could
some
get
things.
1 or 2.
Say it again.
Could definitely get two new winners or something. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. For example, I mean, Liam could win Road America. But, and I hate to say it like this, but the great thing about
he's
I was
way
gonna,
back there.
right, exactly. I was gonna say, even if he does win, it doesn't change the playoff picture. So, but if Cody were to win, or let's say somebody really far back there,
I mean, really, anybody in that top 25 or that are well in there. You know, we got Daytona's the last race before the playoffs. Let's say, I don't know, anybody that's in that top 25 wins and bump their way up there.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to look back and see, like, you know, I don't know. Let's say Joseph Tice, since we were just talking about him, how good of a run he had. If Tice goes out there and wins Road America, he's literally sitting 29th in points. I believe at 141 points, and he gotta make the top 25.
He's right there.
He's right there. That takes, I mean, that takes that whole shift of points, and just especially toward the backside of it, man, that changes everything. So, look, if y'all listening and y'all are sitting, you know, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, if you guys are sitting in that bubble, y'all need to pick it up, because, you know, like you said, Nick, if 1, 2 drivers, maybe max 3 new drivers come in and win, boy, that changes a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you got Daytona, which could be wild, because that could be literally anybody. If we do manage to get the new Atlanta before we run, that could be a game changer.
Crossing my fingers that does not happen, but go ahead.
I honestly think Michigan could be a little bit of a game changer, because I think this car is going to be kind of sort of like a draft fest there, but I guess we'll see. But
didn't DeBarro win there last year? Is that the one where he punted Sam?
Was it that race?
I think it was. I think it was a big old issue over that. Okay, I'm gonna look, see if I can find it real quickly. You guys can keep talking though. Let me see if I can find it really quickly.
But yeah, I mean, you got a handful of races in there where I feel like you could have multiple people win and get different wins. I think you or Nick said about 2 new drivers, and I could definitely see 2 new drivers in the 8 races that we have. But obviously, at this point, I think we're at the point where all the drivers who have won are probably going to win. So,
yeah. Sorry, Sam. I know this probably hurts you to even think about this, but maybe you don't even care anymore. But you did get beat by Adam de Blasio and not DeBarro. My apologies.
that
guy. Yeah, if I remember correctly, that was the one where Sam was leading, and de Blasio said, "I want the win," and threw it in there and moved him up. So, I don't know if it was really a move up, but it was a hot topic. I know that for a fact. There was a heated conversation that night. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, like you said, anybody could win. And then honestly, if you're sitting 13th through 20th, if anybody wins, you're probably hoping that somebody that's not already in the playoffs wins, like a Liam.
Liam doesn't matter.
Right, that's what I'm saying, who's not in there. You know, where it's like, if Liam were to win, that's fine. The points don't change for the playoffs. But if somebody who is in the top 16, or who was right outside of that, wins, then that's when that, you know, starts to shuffle. So, but like you said, you got Daytona, so
I feel like even the road courses, you know, they're not a guaranteed Matt Danson win this year, I think. And there's like, you know, 3 or 4 guys who could go out and win one of those.
Yeah. I mean, that's,
we got
that's
2
true.
of those, you know, before the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's true too. I mean, there's really, and I guess, you know what, while we're talking about it, why don't we just look at the schedule, and let's see what we got late coming up. So I mean, so you got So we got another off week. Evan, please stop with all the off weeks. But we got another off week. And then we have, of course, Atlanta, which will come up next, which we'll get more into details toward the end of the show. But
Road America actually next, but
yeah, I don't know why I said that. Sorry. Road America is next, and then an off week, and then Life of a Sim Racer 206 for Atlanta. Hopefully one of us can win that race. That'll be great.
again,
Exactly. So of course you got Atlanta, which, like Six said, if it's the new Atlanta, which I don't think we're gonna get, because I think if we did, we would have had it by now. But it's iRacing, so they could just throw it on us right at the last second. But if that is the new Atlanta, then throw that up in the air. Who knows? I feel like depending on the setup in New Hampshire, that could be a long. No, that's probably a repeat winner. That's probably a fast guy, somebody who's just normally fast. So Kevin King, Six, even yourself, possibly Nick, Cody, Sam. Maybe even Michael O'Hara. So, I mean, it's really the top 5, and Andrew. But it's really like kind of the top 5 or 6 drivers who, based on points wise, could definitely do it. Pocono, I don't even know what to think of Pocono. That could be a crapshoot as well if you really think about it. And then you got Michigan, which could also be up in the air. Richmond, I think it's going to probably be a fast guy. Watkins Glen, up in the air. And then you got Daytona. So, I mean, you got, what? 1, 2, 4 tracks coming up where it could be a wild card. Could be. So, like I said, if you're sitting in that bubble and you are pretty good at one of these tracks, I would probably suggest you do some extra practice. Because if you can lock yourself in, that's one less thing you got to worry about. Because it only takes 1 or 2 drivers, and if you're sitting on the edge of that top 16, that can knock you out. And it would, at that point, it would be very, very difficult to try to get back in. So, yeah. So that is what's coming up, and then as you can see, we'll get into the playoffs later in the upcoming podcast. We'll talk more and more about that and the people who we think are either locked in or who might even make the Final Four. We'll get into that in the upcoming episode soon. But next up is my favorite, is the power rankings. So let's get into it. Alright, we are back, and as you can see, we have the power rankings up as of Nashville, which is the race that we just did. So I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to call out the ones that seem to be big, and first one that stands out is Sam, moving all the way up to P2. I believe he was P5 at the time, so he takes over P2. So as I stated earlier in the podcast, he's definitely somebody you're gonna have to look up for. Nick Silver also picking up spots, now P3. Cody Harris falling all the way from P2 to P5 is interesting. I didn't expect him to drop that far, but I'm not surprised, but I just didn't. I expected him to drop just not that much. And Loria, like I said, P10. He's he had that great finish. Moves him up quite a bit. Michael Johnson also picking up some spots. So probably the only other thing that really stands out for me is in yellow, which is the people who are sitting right outside. Ross Cato is sitting right outside the top 16. I think a good run will put him right in there. I'm honestly surprised that Connor Horn is still in the top 16 of all the troubles he's had, and he's missed some races as well. But usually when he comes and does a race, he's pretty solid. So I think that's what helps him. Danson missing the race. He's still in the top 20, which tells you how important that win is that he got. I believe strongly that that's why he's still in the top 20. But other than that, and like I said, that's what you have. Anybody stand out for you guys, or any surprises? I should say.
Well, Sam moving up a whole bunch, of course. He's on a roll, so not really a surprise, but cool to see nonetheless. And then, like you said, Cody dropping a lot. I mean, I thought he finished pretty decent at Gateway, but and I'm not really sure where he finished at Nashville, but I do remember it wasn't as good as I expected. Other than that, nobody else really surprises me, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines. Sam doesn't necessarily surprise me because obviously the 2 wins back to back. I guess it's kind of fitting. I mean, you got the two guys, myself and Sam, with multiple wins, 1-2. So, and obviously Nick with his dead on consistency.
Dead on. I mean, you can't ask for a more consistent driver right now. I was looking at your results, Nick, and I think I told you this before, but you literally finished P7 actually 4 times in a row.
There was one season, I don't remember what league it was in, but Sean will remember if he's watching this part. I was finishing 4th like 80 or 70% of the races I was in, so I feel like 7th is a new 4th for me this year, which, I mean, I'm not going to complain about that at all.
Wow. 70 to 80% of the time you finish 4th. Wow. Alright. That's, I don't think I've ever done that before.
If nothing else, I'll take consistency this year.
Yeah, but, I mean, you're Mr. Consistency right now, sir. Definitely, for sure.
Yeah, so yeah, I think out of all the drivers, I mean, really, you have myself, Nick, and I think Cody. Really, we're all very consistent drivers this year. I'm pretty sure we're the top 3 for top 10 finishes, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously the consistency shows up. I mean, 3 of us are in the top 5 from a consistent standpoint. But it just shows you how close the rankings are. Really, I guess you can say with the top probably 7, 8. How people can move up and down really easily, just based off the one race we have a week. With Kevin, Cody, and Andrew all dropping a little bit, and I mean, Kevin obviously didn't get the finish he wanted, but I mean, still, I think like a 12th place finish or wherever he finished. Like, it's not a horrible finish, and Cody finished inside the top 10. Andrew had a top 5 finish and still fell down the power ranking. So
yeah,
it just shows you the talent and how hard it is to, 1, to win these races, and 2, to get good finishes, and to maintain our spots in the power rankings.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the power rankings is like I said, it's a very very technical procedure, I guess, or formula that's being used, and it takes a lot into consideration. Like I said before, it takes your wins, your top 5, your top 10s, your last race points, your average finishes over the season at that time, your average last 5 points. Did you race at all? If you don't, if you don't do a race at all, I mean, you technically drop, and you lose, quite a bit, because everybody else gained points and you didn't. So, it's like I say, every podcast, I love doing the power rankings. It's just so interesting to see, who's doing what, who's moving up, who's maybe somebody you need to keep your eye on. I would probably say, if I'm looking at it for myself, I probably need to keep an eye on Bradley Burke. Michael Araya and Tom Wetmore. 'Cause they seem to be the ones who are behind me, along with Michael Johnson as well. 'Cause those are the guys who are behind me, and those are the guys who are, in my opinion, are starting to kind of show a little bit of speed, a little bit more speed, I should say. They've had speed, just not consistent. So, and of course, I'm not really showing the consistent speed. So that's something that, for myself, that I would definitely look into. But I think it's, something that other, you know, people that's, either watching or listening, can kind of keep that in mind as well. Like, okay, hey, this person's getting hot. I'm gonna need to keep an eye on him, because, if this is somebody that I might have to battle to get into the playoffs, or whatever the case might be. So basically, it's just an information basis. But like I said, it's fun. I love doing it. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. And I'll put it in now. Mr. Nick Silver said he's going to dress it up and make it look a lot better for next podcast. So I'm gonna keep I've said it now out loud, so that means you have to do it now.
We'll make it look good.
Good to hear. Good to hear. All right. So we are coming toward the end of the podcast, and of course we have our next race coming up, which is Road America. Now, this is only the second year in a row, second year in a row that the Cup cars will be racing at Road America. No idea for next year. I think that's still even up in the air, unless something recently came out. But I like Road America. I have a love-hate relationship with it. I played a lot of it back in my Forza days, driving wild cars that shouldn't be going nearly as fast. But it was something about Road America where I just, I had, like I said, I had my love-hate relationship with it. But honestly, I feel comfortable there. A hell of a lot more comfortable than I do when we do Watkins Glen, or Mid Ohio, which we don't run here in the Cup car, but we do in Xfinity, or the Roval. It's just something about Road America where I feel like I can actually attack it. I guess similar to kind of Coda, in a sense. But how do you guys feel about it? I mean, I know you guys really aren't the most fondest on road courses, but what you guys think about it coming up next for next race?
I like road course racing. I don't like it on iRacing.
Understandable.
I just wish we had cautions, not just in RSR, but honestly in even official racing. Like, to me, they're just not fun, because it's basically go out, run your qualifying lap. If you qualify in pole, there's a good chance you're probably winning that race, as long as you don't make a mistake, or at least a very good top 3 finish, more than likely. But with the way the current tire is, I'm definitely not a fond of it. So, I mean, I like a lot of the road courses that we run. I mean, I actually like Road America. It's probably one of the, I'd say out of all the road courses we run, it's probably my favorite to run.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't mind Watkins Glen. I don't mind Sonoma, but I've never been really huge fans of them. Coda's okay, and then the Roval, well, it's the Roval. I'll put it that way. And then, but like I said, out of all of them, Road America for sure. I definitely love that track. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. A little bit of practice that we've done. Seemed like I have some speed, but like I said, with the way the tire is, we'll see if I can do that for the entire race.
Yeah. Nick, don't you dare say anything about freaking Sonoma.
How did you know?
Because I had a feeling you were going to say, I wish we were racing Sonoma instead of Road America. Like, no. Burn it down.
Well, I'm still bitter about Evan not putting it on the schedule, but it is what it is.
Oh my god.
And I'm the same as Six. I don't dislike road course racing. I do enjoy road course racing,
Mm.
and I'm just not very good at it. I'm like enough to not really be a weapon, which I guess is fine. So, going into this next race, I'm just going to approach it like I do every single road course race and just keep it on the track. And if I finish anywhere from 10th to 15th, it's a success. Just, road course racing, like Six was saying on iRacing, but also in leagues that don't have cautions, it just feels more like a chore than anything. Not really looking forward to it, not really upset about it or anything, but just going to go out there and put my time in and, see where it shakes up. I don't think, even though I think it's a chore, I think we should still have a lot of road courses on the schedule like we do, unlike certain other leagues that are just replacing them with other races, fictional races. But, we've harped on it before, so I'm not going to harp on it again. Got to do something to spice them up. Otherwise, it's just going to always feel like a chore for anybody outside the top 5.
Pretty much. I mean, real quick, I was like thinking to myself that it's one of those things where it's rough because I feel like most of the drivers enjoy road course racing. It's not fun after 5, 6, 7 laps into the race, just because most times you're probably all spread out and there's just no one to really race. I mean,
Mhm.
I kind of said that at Coda, where it's like, well, I got to a point in that race where I'm like, I'm all alone. No one. I think the closest car in front of me was like 15 seconds, and the closest car behind me was like 10 seconds. And it's like, I'm out here all by myself, and it's just like, oh, I'm just running laps basically. It's not fun, and honestly, I don't think it's great to watch either, personally. But
No, I got my my parents watch, every race religiously, and they'll watch it. They'll have it on, but man, every time we're done with the road course race, that was boring is the text message I get no matter what. So from an entertainment standpoint, it sucks. Might as well honestly save the money on the broadcast and lower the frickin' entry fee or something, because it ain't fun for people to watch.
Ooh. Okay, Nick. Okay. Interesting. He said take it off the broadcast and
I
lower
have to
the
agree.
entry. I mean, I'm not opposed to. I mean,
If you're not gonna change anything, it's like, why broadcast it? Because it's like, it's the same freaking shit every week, basically, for a road course.
Yeah. I mean,
Especially at Road America, since it's frickin' longer than the ring, so everything's gonna get super
longer
spread
than
out.
the ring. What? No, it is not, sir.
What
Okay?
it feels like.
No, it's nowhere near Nürburgring. Hell no. And I think somebody had mentioned that in somewhere. It's like, oh yeah, we should run there. No, we
Hey,
shouldn't.
no. Actually, we were talking before this about endurance races, and I brought up Bathurst, and you said about running there.
Oh yeah, I mean I wouldn't.
That would spice things up. Run at Bathurst, man. I would surely have fun with that.
I think Danson would still have an advantage since he's from Australia, so it would be like, oh, just give him the damn win again.
I mean, I'm sure he'd still win, but I mean, it's just one of those tracks. Like, even if you're not racing anybody, it's just fun to drive.
Yeah. Hey, maybe that should be the All-Star race next year. Wink, wink, Evan. Real course, and spice it up with like stages and some crazy stuff. I don't know. Like I think that would be pretty wild. But yeah, I'm spot on with you guys. Wow, spot on. I guess I'm on. I've been watching too much Dirty Mo Media. Anyway, but yeah, you guys are right on some things, not all. I do think that Road America is, like I said, I think it's one of the better road courses that they have to offer. Honestly, I think there are some other road courses that it's just like it's either really hard to pass, or it's really follow the leader, or you got to do some crazy ass move to try and get by somebody, and then you guys end up wrecking or some shit like that. Which I guess can say that this technically could happen at Road America, because there are two very long straightaways, which it would be very easy for somebody to miss their braking point and plow into the guy or self spin or whatever. So I understand. Everybody doesn't love Road America. Again, I still think this is probably one of the better ones. Damn sure it's better than the damn Roval. I don't even understand why we still run there, in my personal opinion. I think now we run at enough official. I'll take one from Tony Stewart. We have plenty of official road courses. You can take away the Roval now. We don't need to run there anymore. Same thing
From
with
Long Beach.
Oh God, no, I wasn't saying that.
Please.
I don't think we would survive. I think it's similar to like Tony Stewart was saying. I think when he was at Sonoma, they interviewed him or whatever, and he was like, what is one thing you would like to see changed or whenever, or something like that. And he was like, come run at Eldora instead of putting dirt on a perfectly good paved racetrack. Because you can get more out of Eldora than you do at Bristol, which I agree 110%. But whatever disagreements they got, then I guess that's the reason why NASCAR won't go to Eldora, and vice versa, whatever the case might be. But yeah, I think if we can have stage breaks or I don't know, just something, a random caution or something. I know we've talked about this before, and even it got kind of heated in the Discord for the league, where people were talking back and forth about what they think should be done. I just think a change is needed. I really think we should try something. I think if I remember, Danson was suggesting that, hey, maybe we should try it, a road course in the Winter Series, and then try something like stages or something like that, and just try something different, and see how it goes. Does Danton, does our road course ringer still win it? I think it's still a good possibility of that, but it just makes it more entertaining to watch. I think that's our biggest thing right there. It's already boring for us. For the majority of us, it's already boring to race. But it's damn sure gotta be boring to watch. And that's just my 2 cents on that. So I'm not gonna harp on that. So we're getting a little long. But anyway, so we got that's pretty much it. So I want to thank our sponsors, as always: Digital-Motorsports, Elwood Designs, Battle Beaver, and Boosted. Gotta thank you guys, Six and Silver, for being my co-hosts and making the podcast a lot more fun to do. When it was by myself, it was pretty boring, but now that you guys have joined, kind of livening it up, giving you guys, allowing you guys to give your own feedback and give your personal opinions on the races, drivers' abilities, and kind of making it more entertaining to listen to. So I want to thank you guys for that. And I guess, do you guys have anybody you want to thank or anything like that before we go?
Got to give a shout out to Race Lab Apps, of course, and Elwood Designs for the sweet paint schemes, week in, week out.
I say, and I gotta thank the channel as always, sponsoring the car, and then Elwood Designs is also for painting them.
All right. Well, you're both quite welcome. I don't know how I helped in any of that. But yeah, you guys are welcome. Any way that I can help, I guess I'll try to help. But anyway, so again, Road America is our next race. We race that this coming Monday. We will put out another podcast on Saturday, or Monday is usually when it comes out. Possibly might have a special guest. But I'm not sure if we're gonna have that special guest, so we'll see. Last thing before we go, unfortunately, we have had to part ways with one of our I guess members. Trey Browning has decided to leave Keeping It Real. He decided to kind of go on his own way and look for other things to do. So I want to wish best of luck to him and hoping that he finds something, another league, if not another league, just to have fun and enjoy life. So that about does it. I want to thank everybody for listening. Everybody be safe, take it easy, enjoy life, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.